I saw this post on Twitter that explained that if Spider-Man is Mario, then Venom is Wario. And if Venom is Wario, then Carnage is Waluigi. But while Waluigi is this lanky meme of a man that's delightfully ridiculous and I love him, Carnage is a bland and boring one-note character that I think kind of sucks. And here I thought people hated me for the Kang video. This one is really gonna piss them off. As many of you already know, Carnage is the offspring of the classic Spider-Man villain, Venom. The symbiote's host is a serial killer named Cletus Cassidy, and together as Carnage, they're a murderous killing machine. That's about it. Today, I'm going to be getting to my thoughts about why I'm not a big fan of this character, by exploring his behind-the-scenes history and how he's used in the comics. But let's make something very clear. These are my personal opinions. I cannot believe that I have to clarify this, but since people got extremely bent out of shape in my video about why I'm not a fan of Kang the Conqueror, I am not trying to be objective here. I am not a news site, I'm not an academic. I'm just a guy that knows a whole lot about comic books and comic history. These are my thoughts. I'm not saying you're dumb or you have bad taste if you like Carnage. Are we good? Good. But before we get too far into things, I want to give a quick thank you to the sponsor for today's video, Keeps. 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they turn 35. And considering that one of my favorite physical traits is my very thick hair, losing it is a very real fear of mine. But thankfully, there's Keeps. They're a subscription service that makes it easy and affordable to treat male pattern baldness, with generic versions of FDA-approved medications for hair loss. Get the right treatment for you mailed directly to your door every 3 months, and it's handled by a real licensed doctor completely over the internet, which means no boring doctor visits or pharmacy pickups. Plus, if you need to ask your doctor any questions or raise any concerns in the meantime, then you can message them 24/7 and also track your progress by using their handy tracking tool. If you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, then go to keeps.com/comicdrake or click the link in the description below to receive 50% off your first order. That's keeps.com/comicdrake. Thank you very much, Keeps. But anyway, let's get back to the video. My problems with Carnage begin and end with 2 simple opinions. He's not interesting, and he's extremely overused. I don't like using the term overrated because that basically just means I hate that people like this. And I don't. I think it's neat when people like characters that I don't because it leads to interesting conversations. And I sincerely wish that I was able to look at things the way that they do. I don't like disliking things. To be honest though, I understand why Carnage fans like him. I mean, he looks pretty damn sick. He's a lean, mean murder machine with a red color scheme, and it makes him look like a sort of blood monster. But my issue is that he suffers from the same problem as most comic book characters that were made in the 90s. They're about cool designs first and personality second. Now, the idea behind Carnage is fantastic. See, when David Michelinie created Venom, the character exploded in popularity right off the bat because of his menacing design, but also because of his gray morality. However, a large portion of his audience misunderstood what Venom was all about. Plenty of folks just thought that Venom was this cool monster of pure evil that killed without purpose. But that's not the case. Venom is obsessed with the idea of being a hero. He's a lethal protector with a strict moral code. Now, make no mistake, Venom's code of ethics is insane and twisted, but they're ethics nonetheless. As Michelinie puts it, Venom will save a baby, but will kill as many old ladies and nuns as it takes to do so. Carnage was meant to be like an anti-Venom, but not like the actual anti-Venom. That's a totally different character. He was just supposed to be a dude with similar powers to Venom, but no sense of morals or ethics, just pure chaos. And really, that's the crux of things for me. Carnage is the definition of a one-note character. He's an agent of chaos, a serial killer who murders just for the sake of murder. His entire personality is just wrecking carnage. As I've said multiple times on the channel, I don't think there's such a thing as bad characters, only bad writers. A good example of this would be Dr. Octopus. Originally, he was just a pretty flat character, just a generic evil scientist you could find in any other series. Over time though, he's been given a lot of depth, and he's since become a nuanced 3-dimensional character with dubious morality. Everybody is the hero of their own story, and it's been made explicitly clear that while Doc Ock leans towards evil and most of his actions are simply just a means to fuel his insanely inflated ego, he just wants to create groundbreaking technology that he will go down in history for, and he'll build it at any cost. Everyone else is his intellectual inferior, and if they won't get out of his way, then he'll shove them aside. Venom works in a similar fashion, but with the added interesting dynamic of the push and pull between Eddie Brock and the symbiote, their constant back and forth. Cletus and Carnage, on the other hand, are pretty in sync with each other. It's just murder, murder, kill, kill. I get it. Some folks really don't care about a character being complex or nuanced. Sometimes it's just enjoyable for a character to simply be evil for that alone and get off on doing bad shit. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy characters like that, but they tend to make up for it with a fun personality or interesting dialogue, like say, the Joker. Carnage, however, has none of that. For some people, the one-track mind of killing folks is all they really need from him, and that's totally fine. I also don't like slasher movies, but I'm not going to berate anyone that does. I am not the target demographic for those stories, and everything isn't made for me. Carnage might honestly just be the same. However, I do think that there are instances where Carnage works. In my opinion, Carnage works best as a force of nature, this nearly unstoppable murder machine that rolls into town and lets the bodies hit the floor. See, one-dimensional characters like that do work fine as one-off or slightly recurring characters. Drop them in, let them do their gimmick, and leave. For me, the issue comes when these guys are used as a lead antagonist over and over again, because there's usually not enough for them to really work with to fuel big storylines. Carnage has gotten super old for me because due to the character's insane popularity, Marvel keeps bringing him back over and over and over again in the role of main antagonist. And as he currently stands, the writers tend to exhaust everything interesting about him within like the first 2 issues. But on top of that, when Carnage was introduced as the offspring of Venom, it opened the floodgates to symbiote mania. Now there's 1.5 million of these dudes all running around, and if Carnage was Waluigi, then these guys are like those weird rabid versions of the Mario gang. Yeah, everyone totally remembers all of Venom's other kids and their cool 90s names like Scream, Agony, Riot, Lasher, and Phage. Honestly, the entire symbiote section of the Marvel Universe has become a complete clusterfuck, which became the basis for the huge event called the King in Black, where the god of the symbiotes comes to Earth to take it over. Admittedly, I somewhat enjoyed that storyline, but the vast majority of symbiote stuff is pure gobbledygook nonsense and is needlessly complicated and convoluted. And that's actually a huge problem that I have with mainstream superhero comics as a whole. When something is popular, they'll keep doing it over and over and over again, which usually results in the shit getting complicated for no real reason. Venom is a cool character and a concept that I'm a fan of, but I don't really like Carnage. I understand his place in the world, but because he's so popular, Marvel keeps trying to make lightning strike twice, and every attempt at a new Carnage has somehow been even worse. Though with Venom becoming a really popular character in his own right separate from Spider-Man, it does make sense to keep Carnage around as Venom's primary antagonist. And Marvel has admittedly been doing some interesting stuff with him, like essentially making Carnage the knight of the god of the symbiotes. There's also the Venomverse event, where Venoms from across the multiverse are at war with a hive mind army called the Poisons. The Venoms actually bring in a Carnage as their secret weapon, and allow him to kill to his heart's content, which is honestly kind of brilliant. There's also the Axis event, where the alignments of various heroes and villains were swapped, which led to Carnage trying to be a hero and just being really, really bad at it. It was actually a really fun story that I seriously enjoyed, and it's probably the best thing that came out of Axis as a whole. That's kind of the point of this video. I do think that there are aspects of Carnage that work, and I don't think that he should be completely reworked to fit my personal taste. At the end of the day, I love Marvel Comics. I just want them to be the best version they can be. So whether that be for writers to make Carnage more than just a mindless killing machine, or use him in smaller doses, then I think the comics would be much better off. But anyway, if you like this video, then why not consider subscribing, or even watching another one? And if you want to know why I don't like another classic Marvel villain, Kang the Conqueror, then maybe consider giving that video a watch. But due to the reception, maybe you won't like it. Who's to say? But anyway, I hope you learned at least a little something new, and hopefully, I'll see you next time.